Welcome to the Eagles Talent Trending Now program. I'm your host, Sheldon Senek. Today we welcome keynote speaker who truly understands humor, balance, and being healthy in the workplace, Claire Berger. Claire, welcome to our program, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much. It's good to be here.
Claire, we're going to focus our conversation today on planned communities. But before we do that, I'd love to hear about your journey from Second City to being a successful keynote speaker.
Well, you know, for me, comedy has always been a marketing tool as a communicator. When I got out of college with a degree in communications, I knew that if I wanted to perform, I would have to create my own stage. I would have to find my audiences. And so becoming a speaker and becoming a stand-up was really an organic process for me as sort of a self-marketer. And Second City was a fantastic place for me to hone my skills. I say Chicago is the best place to learn comedy. It's just awesome.
Such a rich history there.
Oh, so much history. And in the Second City walls, there's ghosts that encourage you and help you, and it's just amazing. So Second City was a wonderful sort of launching pad for me. And then I decided, you know, I'm not going to go through my life with 5 brilliant people over my shoulder bailing me out on a bad punchline. So it was time to strike out on my own, do stand-up. And I've traveled the world as a stand-up and as a warm-up comedian, working for sitcoms like Seinfeld and Friends and Murphy Brown. And that was great for me as a parent because at that point I had young children and it was a chance for me to keep performing but also stay home. So it was good. And then I realized there was a bigger audience than people that just went to comedy clubs and television shows that really wanted to figure out how to have fun while getting the job done. And I developed this humor consulting firm called Funnyworks, and it's sort of grown from there. We have this incredible movement in the country right now, the study of happiness. And it makes me so happy because I know, you know, there's all this medical data about the study of depression, but honestly, happiness is what sustains us as people, as professionals, as a world, and it's really my personal mission. So I'm thrilled to be able to speak about it.
You recently spoke for a planned community group in Texas. First, some people may not know what a planned community is. Would you talk about this kind of audience and how important these groups are to a community?
Well, you know, the great thing about planned communities, and I should say I actually live in a planned community. I live in Playa Vista, California. And for me as a single woman, to have the opportunity to live in a very warm, thoughtful community, and I think that's the key to a planned community. They're thoughtful, they're well thought out. Planned communities sort of rise from the imagination of real estate developers and planners and engineers and sustainable engineers and people that really want to protect the land and the nature around it and create a sense of home for the people that want to reside there. And I think the common misconception about planned communities is they just come into an area and just take over. And it's really not like that. It's really about cherishing and protecting what's already there and then making it a home for families.
Because of the various professions that are you know, these planned community professionals are filled with probably so much stress, is it accurate to say that you're really trying to inspire and renew the joy for their profession?
I am, and you know, this is a very uncertain time for real estate all over America. Planned communities, I think, have a little edge because people that are attracted to living in planned communities already sort of know what they want. They already kind of have a community targeted for themselves. But that doesn't always make it easier. The real estate agents that I have met that have been in my audiences are very enterprising. They're very self-promotional, but they still have this unrelentless grind of always coming up with a new way to attract people to the communities. And I think some of the best real estate agents can be found representing properties in planned communities. But everybody needs some inspiration. Everybody needs a reminder that it's really not about selling property. It's about communicating with people. It's about establishing relationships.
People can get caught up in that sometimes.
Exactly. It's not the bottom line. It's not how many bedrooms and bathrooms and how big the square footage is. That's the product, but the process is really about communicating with people truly where they live.
Right.
I mean, literally and metaphorically. And that's what really charges me up about these audiences.
So what are some areas that you cover in your presentation?
You know, we talk about it's me and my shoulders. I
Right.
mean, I talk about really my journey to find happiness and succeed in my life.
Right.
I really cite some really specific examples of companies, not just in real estate, but companies all over the world that have figured out a way to keep their employees happy. And as a result, they become great producers.
Right.
You know, there's that old adage that the fish stinks from the head down. And a lot of my audience are the top producers. They're the owners of these real estate agencies. They're the heads of the city planning boards. If they set the tone that this is a happy process,
Right.
that this is a joyful experience, that this is a community that is filled with optimism and joy, it's a healthy message. It's
Right.
a healthy
that trickles
message.
down, right?
Exactly, for the future residents, for the current residents, and for the professionals that sell the community. And I'm really there as a reminder to just say, look, I want you to really think a little bit more about your process.
Right.
I want you to kind of branch out from your own rote memorization of how it is you do things,
Right.
and really think about how to infuse joy.
Right. I guess like sickness, happiness can be contagious.
Absolutely. and it could be, and it can be learned. It's
Right.
not innate. You know, people have said to me, "Oh, you know, you have years as a stand-up. You know, I don't want to, you know, I don't know how to be funny." It's not about being funny. It's really not. And I think the world would be a very scary place if we were all stand-up comedians. But what I want to say is that it really is about tapping into the joy that you feel, the passion that you feel for your profession, and the personal ways that you can communicate that to your potential clients. And again, this works in planned communities. This works. I've worked for mortgage bankers.
Right.
And, you know, there's all kinds of people related to the real estate business that really understand how important it is to approach your profession with a sense of personal, optimistic joy.
Well, how difficult is it these days, really, to balance happiness between the professional and the home life?
Well, I think all of us have to kind of take a new approach to it. You know, I think we all get in kind of a routine. We work, we come home, we veg out, we go to sleep,
Right.
we wake up, we do it all over
Right.
again. For me, you know, to really plan some real social time after work, a time to reconnect with friends and family, a time to really pay attention to the people that have put me here.
Right.
You know, that make me happy, that, you know, that really give me a reason to understand why it is that I work so hard. Then when I do go to work and I really put my, you know, my feet to the fire, I know why I'm doing it. And I think a lot of us lose sight of that. And I'm here to remind you.
Well, you know, and also in this day and age where we constantly are looking at our phones and we're connected more so than we used to be, in that work life and home life really can sometimes collide or intersect, I guess.
But you know, when you think about a planned community, it's a rare opportunity to bring a lot of people together in really small, intimate, old-fashioned ways.
Right.
You know, one of the things that we talk about is, you know, how do you recreate a sense of community? You've got all the buildings, you've got that, you know, the aura of a town, a small town. Where's the heart? How do you find the heart? And one of the recent programs I did was a co-branding session between two huge planned communities, the Woodlands and Bridgeland, two of the best, quite frankly, planned communities in the country. They're joining forces, and we were trying to come up with ways, you know, that they could really rebrand and come together. And one of the members of the audience had the most brilliant thought, because he said, you know what? We are 26.2 miles away from each other. Exactly. Well, that's the length of a marathon. And suddenly we came up with this amazing idea of doing a marathon to connect the communities, literally chasing the people from one to the next, with like this amazing idea for a race that could become a tradition. And that's the other thing we talked about, is really neighborhoods are rooted in tradition. So what are some joyful ways that we can do that? That increases tourism, that increases, you know, the opportunity for people to come to the community that maybe don't live there. And it's an exciting thing for me to give members of the real estate community permission to really do some crazy thinking and to really infuse some new joy into some traditional marketing approaches.
In addition to keynote presentations, you also do breakout sessions.
Yes.
Could you describe the benefits of a plan, like a plan community or any group that they receive from these sessions?
Well, I think what I offer is a more intimate approach to do some improvisational exercises that I learned at Second City.
Right.
I've sort of reconstructed to make work in the corporate world, and certainly in real estate. One of the things that we do is, like I said earlier, take a new look at the community and try to think about a new way of approaching an old problem or an old challenge. One of the things that the Bridgeland Woodlands community has is a brand new spray ground that's going to be opening this summer. Now, I would have loved that growing up. Yeah. I mean, I had playgrounds, but not spray grounds. Right. So I challenged my breakout session participants to come up with other non-traditional approaches for community space. And I think it was kind of the comfort zone that they felt. It was permission that I had given them. And this is my question that I say to management in my audiences. Are you giving your brokers, are you giving your employees permission to bring fun and joy into their work? And I gave them permission. And they came up with the most amazing recreational spaces that, quite frankly, I had never considered. And it was inspiring for me to watch these participants, their brains synapsing, or their eyes were sparkling, and they were really coming up with real solid ideas that could be implemented. It was great.
So they're really walking away with some real important nuggets of information and creativity after your presentation then.
Well, yes, and that's probably the highest compliment that I can get from the people that invite me to speak, is that they said, you know, you've asked me to look at my profession a little differently. You've asked me to problem solve with a little bit more optimism, not that crisis mode that we always sort of instinctually get into. You know, how can we approach this situation on a little different level of optimism? And that's the highest compliment anybody pays me. It's like, I'm going to have fun at my work, you know, in my workplace now. I'm going to have fun doing my job in a way that I never thought I could.
So what are some things that you have learned about these groups and their challenges from speaking at their engagements?
You know, I think the biggest challenge that people face right now is the relentless hamster wheel that we're all on, if you will. Just the opportunity that people have to find a way to infuse joy. This is what I do for a living. This is not, and this is also my mission as a person. I'm like you. I'm like everybody. I've had challenges. I've had trauma. I've had health issues. Everybody has, you know, as I tell my kids, everybody gets dealt a hand. And it's what you do with that is really what increases your health and happiness. And I think that by being really honest with my audiences, they're really being honest with me. And I get an enormous amount of inspiration and optimism from the stories that my audiences tell me. And this really is a very intimate exchange of ideas and information and inspiration. I don't just stand in front of people and lecture. That's just not my style. Everything is really interactive. I'm a huge storyteller. I collect stories for a living. That's really what I do. And the stories that I tell have pretty important impact. I think people tell me a lot that there's things I say that stick with them. When they're struggling with a problem, they remember something that I said, and it just means the world to me. It's great.
Well, on that note, Claire, thank you so much for being with us. If you're interested in bringing Claire into your next event, you can visit eaglestalent.com. I've been your host, Sheldon Senek, and this has been the Eagles Talent Trending Now program. Thank you for watching.